Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Job Breakdown. Today we're taking a look at Samurai. Samurai is one of the highest damage dealing DPS in this game. Samurai has Sin that you have to balance, as well as a Kinky gauge that you want to manage. Depending on how many Sin you have, you are able to use different Yaijutsu. The one that I've just put on is Higanbana, which is your dot. It does not take that long to build up your Sin, and in fact you can convert Sin over to Kinky. Because as much as Sin may look like the one that you want to focus on, Kinky is where your damage really comes from. You have the ability to put out some of the highest damage numbers in this game using Samurai, and although it lacks in raid utility in a very large way, it doesn't have much to bring to a party at all, other than its damage, it does have some really cool tricks that I think are definitely worth taking a look at. So, once you have filled up your Kinky gauge here, you have a lot of options, and you can use it at any point. You don't have to wait until it's full. But the main one that you will see used is Kaiten, which we use right before a big hit. So you could Kaiten Setsugeka and double your damage just about. Or you could Kaiten Gurin and do quite a bit of damage that way as well. You're really going to want to focus on your Hisatsu maneuvers, your various different moves that you can use with it, because they all have a different effect. And when I was asked by someone on Twitter the other day how to play Samurai, and I went to try and explain the rotation, I realized that I didn't know the names of any of these moves. So I have been studying, but that doesn't mean I know them all yet, so forgive me if I misname them. The main ones you're going to be using, as we said, are Kaiten and Gurin. You're going to be using them for most of your damage. You're going to want to keep your Higanbana up, basically at all times. It does really good damage for a dot. It's not bad at all. I mean, all dots do decent damage, but Higanbana feels real good to put on a target. You also have Tenkagoken here, which allows you for your AoE. Your AoE rotation is going to look a little bit like this. Fuga, followed by Oka. Fuga, followed by Mangetsu. Then, if you have the Kinky for it, Kaiten Tenkagoken. And that's your AoE rotation. It seems pretty simple, I know, but it does the job very well. You can also throw in some Q-10s if you want to. They eat the Kinky gauge up pretty well, but they do some decent damage, so nothing wrong with that. And if you are in a situation where the boss has to move, or you can't hit the boss for whatever reason, you can meditate to rebuild your Kinky. It's a move that I don't see Samurai use very often, but it's definitely one to remember, because it's a lot more useful to you in a fight than dancing while the boss is gone, much as you may like to do so. You also have Shinten, which is a very nice little stab. Would be your stinger if this was a fighting game, and does some really good damage. You have the ability to dash away with Yaten, and then you can use an improved NP to do good damage, and you can dash back in with Gyoten. Samurai has a lot of cool maneuverability, and most of that comes from the Hisatsu commands. But what I also want to show off here is when you really just get it, you get it built up, your Kinky's ready to go, you Kaiten, Setsugeka, Kaiten, and then Shinten, you can get some really nice damage going. Now, what if you're in a situation where you need your Sin right away, and you don't know if you're going to be able to get all your combos off or not? Maybe you're almost in rage and the boss is almost dead. Meikyo Shishui gives you 3 casts for 10 seconds, where you can hit 3 buttons, and then you can Setsugeka with a Kaiten. And there you go. On the other hand, maybe you have all the Sin you need, and the boss is still there taking damage, you know, gonna be there for a little while, and you need more Kinky. You're just about out, and you don't want to meditate, because if you meditate, then you're gonna have to deal with, we'll just burn through this real quick. You're gonna have to deal with not being able to do any damage, and you just really want to get some damage in there. A Gakure to eat your Sin, convert it back in, and then you can just immediately spend it again. If you already have Meikyo Shishui waiting, you just go ahead and convert it right over and you're good to go. You also have a couple buffs that you're going to want to manage as Samurai. You have Shifu, which will give you reduced weapon skill cast times, and you have Jinpu, which increases your damage. You always want to have these up. If for any reason you don't have these up, it's a problem. You need to keep doing that. You can also reduce the target's slashing resistance with Yukikaze, so you want to have those up at all times as well. You basically want to be rolling through your rotation as all 3 of them. I normally go Yukikaze to reduce their damage, followed by Shifu to be able to get my speed up, followed by Jinpu to be able to do more damage myself. Honestly, there's not a right or wrong way to that as far as I'm concerned. All three of them are definitely useful and something to consider, so don't be too upset if you're not able to pull them off. You also want to be augmenting things with Kaiten as much as possible, because Kaiten's super cheap. There's no reason not to do it. Your basic attacks increase your Kinky gauge already, so there's no real reason not to just be putting out as much damage as you can. Especially since that's what Samurai is for, really, is to put out as much damage as possible. You can even Kaiten your Higanbana if you want to. It's not going to hurt anything if you have the extra Kinky waiting around, because by the time you've got your other casts off to be able to use a move that you would want to Kaiten again, Kaiten will be back up, because if it's extremely short, 5-second recast time. From there, you do have some other things you want to consider with Samurai as well. Third Eye is a move that is insanely powerful. It comes back every 15 seconds, and every 15 seconds, you can reduce the damage that you would take from an attack by 10%. For 15 seconds. It's so... Or for 3 seconds, but you get it back every 15 seconds. It's so good. You want to pop it right before you're getting hit by an AoE, or right before you're getting hit by a raid-wide, or anything like that. Especially if you're in solo content, you want to be popping it basically all the time. And once it's popped, you have access to 2 more moves you didn't have access to before, under the effect of Open Eyes, which are Merciful Eyes, which restores your own HP by 200, and gives you reduced immunity, or Seigen, which gives you a potency of 200 attack, and that's basically the option of, I didn't take any damage, I don't need to heal, let me do some more damage on top of what I'm already doing. For your roll actions, you really want to bring things like Second Wind, Invigorate, especially if you're doing a lot of AoEing. You really want to bring in things like Leg Sweep to be able to get those stuns on dungeon mobs. Goad is definitely recommended, especially if you're in a big party that's going to be doing a dungeon run where you know you're going to be doing a lot of AoEing. Bloodbath is great for Samurai, because you can see how much we can heal from it very quickly, especially if you pop it and then Kaiten Setsugeka or Kaiten Guren. You're getting quite a bit of healing off of it. Then things like True North, it doesn't hurt to have. You don't have any positional requirements on any of these, but it doesn't hurt to have it for things like your AoEs, if you want to be able to get a proc. You don't have to have it by any stretch of the imagination, but I have it on my hotbar just because I had an extra space. Why not? Feint, which gives you the dismantle kind of effect, and then Crutch, just in case you get stopped, you know. Gives you an extra option. Diversion is the big one. Diversion's the one that you have to have. If you aren't using your Third Eye to get Merciful Eyes or Seigen, you are going to want to pop Diversion, especially if you're in a prog group where your tank is going to be stance dancing, and you want to be able to really maximize that DPS, because otherwise your tank is having to drop out of their tank stance to be able to help you, to be able to hold aggro so that you're not stopping everybody, and that's not good for the party. You just bring Diversion. There's no reason not to. Just bring Diversion. With all that said, though, I think Samurai's in a really good place. There's not really any changes that I'd like to see. I think it would be cool if it had some raid utility, but I'm not upset with it not having raid utility. I think the job as it stands right now is really fun to play, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. It's my 3rd favorite job right now, which is saying something for me. But with all that said, I have been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Samurai has to offer.